Hey everybody, and welcome to the UberProAudio podcast. My name is Josh, and this week we speak to Canadian hard rock legend Danko Jones. Danko is he's a lot of things. He's a writer, he's a podcaster, he's a singer, songwriter, guitar player, and all-around good dude. We had a really good chat about coming up as like a local band in Toronto, all the way up to playing capacity record-setting festivals in Europe. So it was a really good chat, and of course we talk guitars and gear and recording, songwriting, and all that fun stuff in there. And yeah, it was a really good chat, and Danko was a really good dude. I'll be honest, in full transparency, I didn't lead this interview particularly well. I don't claim to be a crack interviewer by any stretch of the imagination. I'm no James Lipton or Nardwar or, you know what, for you YouTubers, Sean Evans on Hot Ones, great interviewer. But I kind of went off the rails a little, and you won't hear it in the edit, but just so people understand how patient Danko was with me in this interview to let me get back on the rails and end with a really great, cool interview. And I like interviews where I finish learning lots of things about the person I'm speaking with. So yeah, big thanks to Danko Jones just for being a cool fucking person and sharing an hour of his time with me, because it really it means a lot. So enjoy the interview. Go subscribe to Danko's podcast. It's also fantastic, and he has some awesome guests on there. So definitely go check that out. And yeah, hope you enjoy the interview. Cheers. What have you been up to, man? I feel like you're all over the place all the time.
We're touring a lot. We've got a Canadian tour, a small Canadian tour. It hits only 3 provinces, but hopefully that'll get expanded later on in November. And then we've got a Nordic tour that'll hit mainly Sweden, but we're playing in Norway and Finland as well in late November and to mid-December. And then after that, I don't really know. It's kind of gray. There could be shows or tours or what have you. But definitely what's happening next year, kind of music related, is in the spring of 2018, I'm releasing my first book.
No way.
And it's called I've Got Something to Say. It's on Feral House. And Feral House is one of my favorite imprints. So it's actually, I'm really stoked by the association with Feral House. And, they've put out Lords of Chaos, and they put out Choosing Death, and the, history of death metal. Lords of Chaos about the church burnings and, the mayhem and the Burzum and Varg and all that stuff in Norway. Yeah. And they put out tons of stuff, but I'm just listing off stuff that I have. But yeah. Hardcore, the Harley Flanagan autobiography is one of my favorite latest stuff they put out. They put out tons of books and off the beaten path. So it's really nice to be part of that imprint. And that's coming out in spring of 2018. It takes a long time to roll out books. But it's called I've Got Something to Say. It's just a compilation of all my articles for rock magazines I've done over the years. Duff McKagan wrote the foreword. Oh, wow. There's illustrations by Damien Abraham, Erie Vaughn, Away from Voivod, Mary Fleener, Gary Texali, Fiona Smythe. Yeah, lots of stuff.
That's awesome. Was that a situation where like they approached you, or you just had kind of been toying with that idea for a while? Because you've been writing for a fairly long time, yes?
Yeah, I started writing in 2005, and then it kind of ramped up, and then it kind of subsided. But I've always had deadlines every month with editors for the past 12 years. Jeez. So yeah, that's fun. It keeps me busy on the road, and usually it's just music stuff, which is I can yammer on about forever. So it's nice to have some sort of outlet where I can post it or send it, and someone out there in the void will read it. And so I've been doing that for various magazines and periodicals for 12 years, and so I decided to compile it all. It took about 2 years to have it all finished, and so it is kind of finished in a kind of a digital form, and then it just needs to get. It's a really slow process in the book world, something I had to get used to dealing with the music world, which is even quicker than it used to be nowadays. So, I mean, you can theoretically you could record something in the morning and have it uploaded and people downloading it by the afternoon. So the book world is very, very slow, but it's been a fun journey so far. It's been a lot of fun. So yeah, it's coming out 2018.
Well, congrats. That's awesome. I was unaware of this. That's a really, really cool project.
Yeah.
So the main reason, among many, I wanted to speak with you was your guitar playing and your journey into music. I know.
Really?
We took a really long way to get there, but
well, I that's not something I kind of rely on. I don't lead with that.
Well,
I don't lead with guitar player. I lead with performer or singer first.
Mm-hmm.
Guitar player is probably fourth or fifth down the line.
Really?
Yeah. I'm very aware of my limitations as a guitar player. It's nice, to have fooled you over the years.
I was going to say you've been doing a very good job.
But it's all smoke and mirrors. But I'm glad the smoke and mirrors have been working. But sure, shoot ahead. Go ahead. Ask away, I guess.
Well, I kind of want to know like where it all started. I was talking to Jake from Strung Out, and I said, what was your holy shit moment? What was you heard a song or a riff and you were like, oh, that's what I think I want to do. Did you have one of those like distinct, memorable moments when you were younger?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's fairly common. I heard Eddie Van Halen and I heard Eruption, and I was blown away, and from then on, I kind of always was into, I always was into guitar rock, but like Eddie Van Halen kind of, I think he took the form and made it a thing more so than, well, at least in my generation, it was Eddie Van Halen. Like, I'm sure people got turned on to Hendrix years and Jimmy Page years before, I was listening to music in terms of guitar player as a character or as a leader, So, that was basically it. But then once I started taking guitar lessons and stuff, I got into punk rock, and I really didn't pursue lead guitar playing like I kind of wanted to start out doing. And I got into, the Misfits and the Ramones and all that stuff. And I just liked rhythm, I liked James Hetfield and Malcolm Young. And I thought the one thing I thought was they were just as cool as, Angus Young or Kirk Hammett or something. Their playing was, I listened to them a lot. So I really, pay more attention to rhythm guitar playing, which is overlooked, I think, in the rock world.
So now, So during that time where you kind of established what you wanted to do, did you kind of simultaneously know that you wanted to be more of a frontman, singer, guitar player, a la James Hetfield?
No, God, let me retrace my steps. I mean, when I got into a band, I was a frontman only because no one else wanted to. So I started singing because everyone else was too shy to sing. So really? I would sing, and I was actually playing bass, and that's how I met JC. I would borrow his guitar, his bass amp at shows, and so when we formed this band, I was playing in my previous band, the Violent Brothers and Horseshack, with like my old high school buddy, and he was like the best guitar player I've ever played with or seen. So I couldn't really come close to anything he was doing. So I played bass, and so when our bands broke up, eventually I hooked up with JC, JC kept playing bass, and I switched over to guitar. And it's been a slow climb since then. We played garage rock, and garage rock is a very simple kind of music. There's really, if there is a solo, it is a very basic solo. The riffs are very simple and very repetitious. Sometimes, no bridge, no chorus, no nothing. I mean, and that's the genre kind of prides itself on being lo-fi and all this stuff. But with the advance of technology, it slowly became opposed, because there's just no way you made this shitty recording because that's all you had. I mean, you can make incredibly sounding recordings for very, very cheap. So I think it kind of, I don't know, it kind of made the genre itself a little bit of I just felt it was a bit of a pose after a while. People were deliberately making their recordings sound like shit to give it some sort of flair of authenticity when it was just bullshit.
There was kind of a recent wave of that. I don't mean to interrupt, but there was a recent wave of that a couple of years ago where bands kind of did that again. I remember.
But it's a pose.
Oh, for sure.
It's a pose. It's I realize bad recordings exist, and they do have the magic, which is why that whole aesthetic exists, because therein lies the magic of technology has made it so that you can record really well, and you think about the Stones recorded in all the best studios when they could. So, and they advanced with technology. They never pretended to not be, not keep up. You know? So, and the Stones were a definite band of the genre that everybody looked towards. So we came to a crossroads, which was, we go down this path and continue down this kind of garage rock path into obscurity, or we change our direction and go to in a direction where was a little intimidating, because you needed a certain amount of chops to play it, but it was hard rock and I couldn't solo, but we still went down that path. And inevitably, we changed our sound. We kind of lost support from certain scenes, and I think it turned out in our best interest, and it made us last longer. But it was easy to transition to a hard rock band because we were, I was born a rocker. I got into garage rock, but I got into music because of hard rock. So it wasn't something that I had to learn or relearn. I always loved hard rock, so it was easy to do. Aesthetically, though, things needed to change. We couldn't just become a hard rock band and incorporate the same, there was a certain dress and a certain attitude and hair and all these lyrics and all this stuff that came with the genre that we kind of eschewed. We definitely didn't subscribe to that. We brought our garage rock and our punk rock background to this kind of hard rock hamburger kind of genre. And we've paid a little bit of a price for it. People, especially in this country, have misunderstood where we come from for years. They don't know what kind of band we are. They don't understand what kind of band we are. And as indie rock has taken hold of the country, especially because of the outside success of our domestic bands, we've, become misunderstood even more. But that's fine. We stand by the music that we play, and I'm proud of it. I'm proud of all the stuff we've done. I love all that indie rock stuff, and hell, a lot of those bands are my friends. But there's just no way I could do that music. I love this music.
Yeah. Well, and do you think that's kind of why? You have, I have friends who are lifelong fans of your band and loyal to the absolute end, and you have a massive following in Europe. Like, do you think that kind of stems from just you sticking to exactly what you are and just playing the music that you love?
I don't know. I really don't know. I don't necessarily subscribe to that. Like, oh, we're just gonna, people are gonna get it because we're so into it, and I don't know if that even works. I mean, we do, just because if not, it wouldn't sit well with us personally. But I don't think we do it so we can, gain more fans or more supporters. I don't think it's been working. I don't know. It's weird. Music is really compartmentalized in North America. You can like this kind of music, and this kind of music denotes that you're this kind of person. And
Right.
if you like this, you can't like that. And it really decides, the kinds of social circles you are in, and the kind of people that you associate with or socialize with, and what kind of person you are. And I'm a whore when it comes to music. I love, like this whole guilty pleasures tag is such a pose to me.
Yeah.
I really fucking hate the term, because it really basically shows whoever uses it that they're just, it's all about being cool. It's not about the music. It's all about being cool. Guilty means, well, then I'm not supposed to listen to it.
You shouldn't be doing it. Yeah.
What, like, I really don't give a fuck if, most people think it's not cool. I will listen to like a cheesecake glam band, and then listen to some sort of like heralded, critically acclaimed indie rock band, and then listen to some pop, drivel, like who?
Just
I
music.
really don't care. And we've taken, creative cues from all these genres and put it into our music. And the thing is, we know what we are. We know what we're good at. We're good at playing rock, and we're not going to veer from that. We're always just going to play hard rock, because I also feel that it's arrogant to take your audience that loved what you do and have come to know what you do, and arrogant to think that they will follow you through every kind of experiment that you want to do.
Right.
If under the banner of our band we decide to do a symphonic record, or a lighter kind of yacht rock record, I think that would definitely alienate and some people who thought we were like this, just because we're so amazing. You're gonna love it. No, you're gonna hate it, because this isn't what you started liking our band, unless you have some sort of connection personally with the people in the band. Like, you identify with this person so much that I get what you're thinking there. Take me on your symphonic journey, because I'm there too. You can't expect people to be like that. So I don't find it limiting either. I find the art lies in trying to come up with another way to play three chords and stuff them in a song. The art lies in trying to come up with another way to sing about, this girl that you like.
Yeah. So now, can you, like, when did you really click that this was it? Like, this is what you wanted to do, like play music for a living?
I went to film school, and I only need a few credits to get my degree. So I fooled myself for years, and I never thought it was, viable. And then but I'd always have a band on the side, and I don't know. Then, I'd always have a band on the side, and we'd play shows and clubs open for bands. But then I'd, have to go back to my part-time job, and I have a essay due or something. And then once school finished and I just had to work, I mean, I could pour more time into the band, and so could JC. And I think it was a very natural thing. Like, we would all have jobs, and we would take time off, and we would tour, but we'd come back home and go back to work, because we had to pay the rent.
Yeah.
And then I think it got to a point where we had to quit our job in order to keep up with, the rigors of being in this band, whether it's touring or whether it's like, I don't know, picking up this box of CDs or showing up for this TV interview or something. It was taking too much time. And listen, we were all, pretty hungry, and we could all eat, ramen noodles 3 times a day and, still be able to stand up straight. So we did it, I hate to use the word starved, because we didn't starve, but, we were able to sacrifice a little more, because we were young and hungry.
Well, that was actually my next question, is like, how scary is that? Like, I run...
Oh my God. It's not scary at all.
Really?
Because we were I didn't know anything else. I was too dumb well, I don't know if I was too dumb, but I was just too young and too innocent to know what was past the cloudy future. I didn't know. If I knew then what I know now, I would definitely be shitting bricks. And if I had to do it over again tomorrow, I would definitely check myself into school. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. Mainly because it's changed. The whole music scape has changed.
Yeah. And
you just don't do it the way I know how. The only way I know how to do it is don't do it that way anymore. There's no labels. There's no A&R really. There's no nothing left. So I don't know how bands do it. I don't know how they do it. My only way to do it is to probably get in the van and tour, but then I don't even know if that works anymore. Like starting from the ground up.
Yeah. Well, just to circle back real quick, why did you decide to go to film school? Was that something that you thought about pursuing?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. But then I got disillusioned because I realized my ideas wouldn't get made. I realized I had to work on other people's shitty ideas. And, you have to water down an idea to the point where you can work on it. And I really got disillusioned by everything. Just how many, you think the music business is bad. The film business is 10 times worse. Well, in terms of getting your creative vision out there.
As someone who runs his own production company, I can attest to this.
Yeah.
That's why I was curious. I wasn't aware that you went to film school, so I found that interesting. Because I personally opted to not, and just I did it part-time for a while, and then eventually just it got similar to you with music. It just got to be too much as a part-time job, and I just went full-time running it. And it's... Yeah, like I've worked on a lot of corporate stuff, a lot of commercials, and worked for a lot of big companies. And the bigger company you work for, then you think, oh man, this is it. This is my break. This is where I'm going to show them what I got. You have no creative control over anything.
No, absolutely not. And I found it really tedious on productions.
Oh yeah.
I just like sitting there or doing whatever I had to do is just like a waste of my time. I just hated it. I hated production. So I thought, well, maybe it's like writing, but then you think, well, nothing gets made. No. You can write 10 scripts and screenplays and nothing will get made. It's a big, giant waste of time unless, you get some sort of nepotistic opportunities presented to you. I just really, I don't know. I was just so disillusioned by it. Yeah, I think it would have been great if I had locked in with maybe a group of like-minded people, and we had stormed whatever together. But much like a band, I think. But unfortunately, I went to school with. There was maybe one or two people, almost like-minded people, but most of them were just, man, they were so square. So robotic and square. I'm like, this is the industry? Yeah. This is who I have to look forward to, like, working alongside with? Like, this is just, I don't know. Because then I'd go to shows, like, I go to school and I do film work, and film stuff. And then on my spare time, I'd go see shows, and I'd hang out with all these cool people who were very smart, who knew a lot about music and had crazy ideas and just wacky characters that I was like, wow, this is way more my speed, you know?
Yeah.
And then I go back to school, which I thought was the film world, or at least a little bit of a glimpse of it, and it would just be these fucking cutout people.
The ones who aren't, and I'll be honest, I think probably 50% of the time I fall into this category, and I'm still relatively new, I would say, in the industry, but we're all pretty fucking jaded about everything when it comes to developing content and everything. Just because, to your point, you know, I've helped develop like 36 programs, and 2 of them went into production, and you'll spend months and months working on things, and just nothing happens. And that's just how it is.
Yeah, and I couldn't deal with it, because, like, you know, I'd read about John Waters and everything he did in Baltimore. I'm like, why can't we do that here?
Yeah.
I just need a group of like-minded individuals, and we'll just do the most crazy. If that ever took off, then I would never have been in a band. I would just be buying records.
So are you still like a film fan?
Yeah, it's funny. I think about that a lot. I mean, I consume it more now with Netflix.
Yeah.
More so than I have in years. But no, it really it killed a little bit of my my enthusiasm for film.
That bums me out a little for you, I'll be honest. Yeah,
it really did. I fucking hated film school. I hated it. It just wasn't what I thought it was going to be, which I thought it was going to be like, you know, we're out of high school now.
Yeah.
You know, so we're all free to a certain extent. So who's going to be attracted to this?
Well,
and it could have been an accounting course.
And
so
yeah,
it was my luck of the draw in terms of my class, but it was, yeah.
So, you know, you made the jump, you start doing music full time. When did you really make a splash over in Europe? Because you have such a huge support structure over there. Like, what was that like, going over there for the first time as a band?
You know, it didn't really occur to us as it was happening to us. But in '99, we put out this song that I guess in Canada we're known for, which is a song called Bounce. Mm-hmm. Much music played the video a hell of a lot. And massive airplay on radio, and it really made our name in Canada. Mm-hmm. But then, you know, then it kind of petered out, you know, once the single, the life of a single had finished. We were still left as an independent band. We had to come up with another song or do something. We didn't have any money. And labels, after you get heavy rotation on music, after you get heavy rotation on commercial radio across the country, not all like college radio, we were in the top 2, back and forth with Beck, I remember.
What?
And then Q107 was playing us, all the way out to CFox. Everyone was playing us. The only offers we got, and I'm not going to mention the record company, were demo deals.
Really?
And I was so insulted by that. I was like, what demonstration do we need further to show you that we can get played and stand toe to toe with, you know, very name signed bands? What more do you want from us?
Yeah.
And so, you know, we were really getting disillusioned. We had forsaken the garage rock scene. We had struck out on our own. We had taken kind of a mainstream path. And now it had all petered out, and we weren't getting the response that we'd hoped for. And then along came Bad Taste Records from Sweden, which was a punk rock label, and they offered us, you know, they were interested, and we turned them down.
No way.
Little did everybody know, but and we have to remind ourselves as to why, but Epitaph in Europe was interested in us. So Epitaph in Europe was interested in us, and we turned down Bad Taste, and nobody knew about this. But Epitaph in Europe at the time was a lot different than the Epitaph records everybody knows here.
Okay.
Epitaph had signed a few rock bands. They had a few rock bands in their roster, which wasn't the way, like they were kind of independent of Epitaph in North America, or at least that's how it was given to us.
Okay.
So we were hoping to get on Epitaph in Europe, and we did end up being on a comp of theirs, but in the end it fizzled out. So we, of course, came crawling back to Bad Taste, which was also a skate punk kind of label.
Yeah.
And they put out a compilation because we didn't have anything recorded except all these demos and all the Bounce single and this EP and all that stuff. So they put it out as I'm Alive and on Fire in 2001. They brought us over for a 5-week tour. We played like skid places and, you know, just any gig they can find. And one of the gigs that we happened to get on was opening for this city festival in Malmo, Sweden with the Backyard Babies. And the Backyard Babies, Dragan is the guitar player, and he helped form the Helicopters. And the Helicopters at the time, and even to this day, are one of the most legendary, revered bands in Europe. And so we played this festival with them, and Dragan loved us. And then we got an offer for their fall tour. We got an offer to tour with them. And so that tour, that 5-week tour in the summer of 2001, coupled with the 6-week Backyard Baby fall winter tour, pretty much after that we started playing on our own after Europe, because we had been introduced to a lot of different crowds in the span of about 6 months, and that was the greatest opportunity that ever came to this band. And we didn't really realize it until maybe 2005 or 2006, when we were like, wow, if that Malmo City Festival show didn't happen, I don't know what would have happened to us. Because also in the crowd was the assistant to our booking agent in Europe, who is still our booking agent, Toby Lawrence. So his assistant at the time, Dragan Sauce, and from that show alone, we got a booking agent who is our booking agent now and books us all over Europe. And then we got on this really coveted tour. Backyard Babies were really on a wave at the time. So, yeah, it was a great tour. It was an amazing year. And after that, we just started slowly playing our own shows and our own tours, and the rest is history. It's been 16 years.
That's fucking awesome.
And we disappeared from Canada. We went from being the Bounce band or the Take Your Clothes Off band on Much Music to not being seen at all. And people thought we broke. People tweet all the time. I see, even last week, there was a guy who direct tweeted me going, "Is he still a thing? Why?"
No.
And people think of us as a band from the 90s.
What?
But the truth be told, like from 2001, we disappeared. We would play Canada a little bit, but we wouldn't play it as much as all the other Canadian bands, who would really work the country. We wouldn't do that because we just didn't have the time. We had all these offers from Europe, and then eventually it brought us to Australia and Japan and Africa and South America, and it basically stemmed from all our European touring. And all the American bands that dug us eventually, after finding out about us, found out about us in Europe.
Well, and
through Canada.
Is that kind of where you ended up creating a relationship with bands like Volbeat? Yeah, absolutely. Michael, from our Michael Poulsen, from the singer of Volbeat, he loved our Born a Lion record, which was released in 2002. Yeah.
It was released here, but in Europe, that album, because of the I'm Alive and on Fire momentum we had built and kind of the buzz, once we put out a record, that kind of, there was a little bit of an explosion, and we did really well. And I didn't realize that the fallout from all that was people like Michael got into the band. And in 2006, we played Copenhagen, and he knocked on our dressing room door after the show, and he gave us the first Volbeat record. I didn't know who Volbeat was. I said, thanks a lot. And I grabbed the CD, and I kept it. I brought it home. And then less than 6 months later, I had a subscription to Rock Hard magazine, and I got the issue,
Mm-hmm.
and there's the dude on the cover who handed me the CD.
Yeah.
And he's got his guitar and he's leaning against a car, I believe, like some sort of like muscle car.
Mm.
And from then on, I was like, what the hell? And there, and then, we all know the story of Volbeat. And so,
well, and you guested on their latest record even. So obviously that relationship has stood the test of time, as it were.
Yeah, and it was from that time. And so when, Michael came to our show, we played Copenhagen again. I don't know what year it was. It must have been a few years later. A couple of years later, he came to our Copenhagen show, and I remember him distinctly going, "Yeah, we're going to go to America. We'll see how it goes." They opened up for Nightwish in America, and it was their first American tour. And he was like, "I don't know how it's going to go, and we'll see." And then I go, "Yeah, it should be. Yeah, that's an interesting." But I remember talking to him in our dressing room backstage at, I think it must have been like 08 or 09, a couple of years later. So we've always kept in touch with each other. And then like a year and a half ago or 2 years ago or whatever, he messaged me saying, "Hey, you want to sing this song? I hear your voice on it." And then just in August, the end of August of this year, they flew me over to Copenhagen to sing the song with them. So I flew across the Atlantic for one song.
That's fucking
and
awesome.
it was at Parken. It was a stadium called Parken in Copenhagen, and it set records for a domestic Danish band in terms of attendance. Yeah, Lars Ulrich played Enter Sandman with them, and Mille from Creator was there. Barney from Napalm Death was there. It was a pretty cool night.
That's amazing. And it's a great fucking song you play on, by the way. It's like one of the best songs on the record. Great song.
It went number one in America. No one in Canada knows that, but it went number one on American radio. It went number one in June. Wow. There's a video we posted about it, and nobody in Canada knows that.
You know what's funny?
It's in America.
You know what's funny is the reason I found out about Volbeat was because of some random Instagram post with Michael Poulsen, and he had a Triple G sticker. And I'm a big combat sports guy, and I'm a huge boxing nerd. And I was like, who is this guy who's repping Gennady Golovkin on his guitar at every show and wearing like Roots of Fight t-shirts? I was like, I need to know about this. And that's how I started listening to them. And goddamn, so talented.
Yeah, I mean, he's a really, really nice guy, really stand-up dude. He's true to his word, and I really respect Michael. I think he's a great guy. I mean, the success that they've had, it couldn't have happened to a nicer guy. I mean, there's some guys who are very successful, and you're like, nobody knows they're a dick, But Michael is truly like such a stand-up dude. Like I can't say enough about him. Like he's really definitely a cool guy, like a really nice guy. And so, when I see the success Volbeat have had, and I've watched it from the ground up.
Yeah.
Literally from the ground up, from him knocking on our dressing room door to him headlining that same city, the Parken Stadium. I go, wow, man, to watch it, it's amazing.
That's awesome.
So yeah, he's a great dude.
But yeah,
it's funny that nobody in Canada knows I sang on a number one song in America, but
we'll spread the word.
What, that guy's still around?
Dude,
that guy's still around?
I'll get the word out. It's a great fucking song. I'll whore it like crazy this week. Don't worry.
I think it got out already. It got
out. So just as an aside, what's your approach when you go into the studio? Because with the exception of like the breaks that you were mentioning, you've been pretty consistent in releasing records since about 2006. Do you have a kind of a system in place that you're writing on the road and you just bring it in the studio after like a break of touring, or is it just kind of a when the feeling's right kind of thing with you?
No, when the feeling's right, it doesn't apply to us. We don't have the luxury of that.
No.
I'm always surprised when bands go, yeah, I don't know, we're just not feeling it. And I'm thinking, well, the rent is feeling it. The rent has got to be paid. So no, actually we put out a record and that's a year on for us. And then we have a lighter year where we still tour, we still do stuff. We're still out there, but we're writing and recording. So it's a heavy year usually followed by a lighter year.
Mm-hmm.
And even in the lighter year, we'll put something out. So we put out, we put out Rock and Roll is Black and Blue in 2012. And then in the interim, we put out a garage rock compilation of all our old demos. And when we were a garage rock band, and then we put out Fire Music, which was a studio album, and then we put out Live at Vakken, which was a DVD and an album, and then we put out Wildcat, which is a new album.
And those are all like pretty stacked back to back to back.
Yeah, it's usually like every year there's something out by us, whether it's an EP or a live album or a compilation or something followed by the studio album. And we're not the only band that does that, but I don't think a lot of bands do it. And it just keeps I don't know, like with the noise, social media noise and everything, to break through, like you just have to get your name out there, constantly have it out there. And it doesn't mean that like, oh, well, we're just throwing shit against a wall. It just means that, we just need to, it's not hard. It's not rocket science, like writing rock songs. By this time, it's not the hardest thing in the world to do. I could pretty much write 10 riffs a day, and like it's not hard. So I'm not trying to like figure out, like it's not.
You're not reinventing the wheel every year.
We're not throwing shit against a wall.
Yeah. No, that's cool. So and honestly, before this call, when I started talking to your publicist, I went back and re-listened to all of your albums, and I'm not just saying this because I'm on the phone with you, but they're all great albums. Like, they're all great hard rock albums to listen to, and they're all very fun to listen to. Specifically Wildcat, I'll be honest, I have kind of a soft spot for it. I thought it was a really great fucking record.
Well, I mean, a lot of bands say it, but I think really Wildcat is the best album we've ever put out. So
it's one that you can't, like, I've been like working while I've been listening to all of them, and it's definitely the one, like, I can't sit still really, or I'm like stopping, rewinding, listening, and I'm like, all right, I gotta learn how to rip off that riff. That's really nice right there. Like, it's a really great album.
Oh, cool. Thanks. I wish more Canadians heard it. There's just like I was saying, there's just so much social media noise to break through. Sometimes albums just break through because, and I don't know. I hope Wildcat can be heard past the usual dim of social media.
Well, before I let you go, because I appreciate you giving me so much of your time. So, what are you rocking right now on the road? I see you're an SG guy from what I read, but you mostly play Explorers.
No, I'm an SG guy.
Oh, then I misread. I apologize.
No, I just play SGs. I play SGs at home. I've always had an SG at home as like just a guitar to fart around with and maybe write some riffs on. But I just never thought I could take it out on the road with me because of just how delicate it is, and it just hangs down and it goes out of tune really easily. But for some reason, somehow I've been able to do it, and I've just said, fuck it. I just really would like to play. I would prefer to play SGs. I played Tellys for years, and I loved it. But once I moved to Gibsons, I just couldn't go back.
Yeah.
I avoided Gibsons. I didn't really think they were for me for years. I thought the Telly was the perfect guitar for me. And it is in certain respects, but once I started playing SGs, like in the live show, I just couldn't stop. I played Explorers. I played an Explorer for a few years as a main guitar. And it was really nice. It felt really good, powerful. You feel powerful playing it.
I love that fucking guitar so much.
But the SG, I gotta say, is just so. It just feels so good. I couldn't play anything else.
Do you keep it stock?
In terms of like pickups and
stuff?
Yeah. No, we have there's like a Slash pickup, Seymour Duncan pickups, depending on the guitar. Yeah.
And for amps, what are you bringing out on the road?
I play orange. What do you call it? Endorsed. Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm endorsed by Orange and Gibson, and so like I'm one of those guys who basically says like I don't need to be endorsed. Like
Yeah.
I'll just buy the shit that I like.
Yeah.
But it just so happens that Orange and Gibson are the two companies I really would love to play. And Orange amps were. I used to play high watts forever, and of course Ampegs forever.
Yeah.
And then we did this Super Suckers tour, and we didn't bring our gear. They let us borrow their equipment.
Mm-hmm.
And so we flew down to their tour in the States, and we did about a week and a half of shows with them. And so I played through Ron Heathman's guitar setup, which was an orange head. And it was the best guitar tone I've ever gotten.
Really?
And I just was like, what the fuck is this head? I freaked out. And he goes, well, it's a little modded, but it's the orange head. It was modified, of course.
Mm-hmm.
It was a little modded, but still, that got Orange amps on my radar. So once like Orange, we were able to get an Orange endorsement. I was like, yeah, totally Orange, man. That Ron Heathman head, man, that rules. So yeah, that's why I'm with Orange, and of course Gibson, who have treated me really well. Like they're great to be endorsed by. Like the people, especially Gibson Germany, I guess that's where my base is in terms of Gibson.
Yeah.
It's where I got my endorsement, anyways, in Germany. And Gibson Germany really have treated me really well. And then in terms of strings and picks and all the extra stuff, it's Jim Dunlop. Picks and strings.
Right on.
And then I'm endorsed by them. And then I play KHTK pedals, which is Kirk Hammett's guitar company.
No way.
Yeah, I play the number one pedal, and it was modded by Salvation Mods. And I have the first modded KHTK number one pedal. So so kind of endorsed by Kirk Hammett.
Kind of fucking awesome.
But it's kind of cool. So yeah, that's the pedal I play. But also, these are all things that I would buy if I had to buy them. I'd just buy them.
Yeah.
So the endorsement is real. Like I really believe in these things. I just can't play shit that I just don't. I know bands that are endorsed by someone, but behind the amps they've got their real setup.
Yeah.
Or not that it's an amp company, but they've got the
I've seen
real
it with
pedals,
pickup
or
companies for firsthand, where a guy will say something and then it's something else actually what they're playing, because you can't really tell the difference. So I've seen it firsthand. Actually, I was kind of surprised, to be honest. I'm a little naive sometimes.
Yeah, so was I, because I really think that's so super lame for everyone. So I'm happy that I'm affiliated with Orange and Gibson and Jim Dunlop and KHTK, and those are my 4, I think, endorsements, or I don't know, whatever. I don't even know. I don't even know. I've gotten free stuff from them, and it's worked out. I'm a creature of habit. I don't really like to change.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot for me to change, and from the beginning of this band to now, I've changed every single facet, whether it's picks or whether it's amps or guitars. I've changed, and this setup, I totally believe in it. I really think it's So
and that carries over to the studio as well.
I mean, yes and no. I'll play Gibsons in the studio.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of amps, we have an array of amps.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll bring in a real old, perfect sounding Marshall head.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean there isn't an Orange setup right beside it, depending on the song.
Yeah.
Or if we double guitars, the Orange could complement it. But there's like a row of amps, and Orange is included there. There's Les Pauls I play in the studio that I could never do live, but in the studio, like a Les Paul is almost necessary.
Yeah.
And even an F. Holtelli or something like that. And then, so yes and no. Like, yes, absolutely, they make it onto the record, but not only like Gibson, I'll play an F hole telly or something.
Well, it's fun to
Or
switch it up.
I don't know, if someone brings in a fucking weird guitar that sounds amazing, like, of course I'm gonna play it and put it on the record.
That's when you kind of have fun. That's when you're in the playground, right?
I don't really we don't have time for that.
Oh, okay.
There's no time to play around, but yeah, sure. I mean, we're writing rock songs, so just make it sound fucking rockin'.
Yeah.
Like we're not Pink Floyd or anything.
Awesome, man. Well, I think that's all I have for you. I feel bad because we're like well over an hour now. Well, again, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, cool. Very cool. Yeah, it was fun.